What's up, guys? What is up? What is up? Welcome to the Monday night live stream. How's everyone doing? Hope everyone's doing well. Um, Before I start, right? I originally had a kind of a debate planned with a commenter, right, on my TikTok. So I don't know what's going on with that. I've contacted her. She hasn't said anything, so I don't know if that's going to fall through or not. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. But if it does happen, I might cut the stream short and move on to what I had originally planned. That's the problem where, you have people who aren't as committed as you. It happens. It happens. But if they don't show up, I'll continue with this stream. If they do, because I think it might be an interesting video debate. It's like a black woman. I'm going to debate her on a lot of the black oriented videos I make. Right, we will have a hopefully an interesting discussion if it happens. If it doesn't, we'll continue what I'm doing tonight. All right. So basically, I came across this video of a woman, a psychologist, coming across this fellow psychiatrist, psychologist, right? And Orion Taraban, he's kind of a semi, I guess, semi red pill content creator, or some people may, uh, you know, put him in that category, whether he put himself in that category or not. But here's a fellow psychologist reacting to another psychologist. So let's check it out. We'll check it out.
And asking me to break down his content. At first, he seemed to me just your run-of-the-mill manosphere content creator with video topics such as men are the prize and women want it all. But then I noticed something concerning. This man has a PsyD, which is the same degree that I have. So at that point I realized, oh, this guy is using his perceived expertise as a psychologist to spread a very dangerous anti-woman message. And who better to explain why his rhetoric is not based on any credible psychological theories than a woman who also has a doctorate in psychology. Let's do just that. So Dr. Taraban calls his psychology psych hacks, which sounds great in theory, but the issue is that he hasn't truly provided any psych hacks or any evidence-based psychoeducation on his channel in about 3 years. 4 years ago, when Dr. Taraban first started his channel, his videos were on respectable, scientifically sound topics, such as how to let people be wrong and use emotions to make better decisions. And then about a year in, something curious happened. He published a video titled, "Guys, Find Your Ugly Duckling, or How to Find a Good Woman," which got about 10 times the amount of views that he was typically getting around that time. For the most part, he went back to his regularly scheduled videos, but more and more manosphere-sounding titles started to get peppered in there, until eventually pretty much all of his content started to sound very woman-negative. Women treat men the way men treat jobs. Women punish the men they like. Women want it all, which has 427,000 views, juxtaposed with the video right before it.
You know, this is the kind of the foolishness of women, right? Where men rarely go into therapy, right? Because men don't see it as beneficial or as a medium that actually helps. Now, when you talk to men the way that it will make sense to men, or the way it would resonate to men, why is it a bad thing? Right? This is why women like this don't most likely don't have a lot of male clients in general, because you don't know how to talk to men.
Which was about neglected kinds of love, which only got 8,400 views. The Red Pill content got about 50 times more engagement than his regular content. Dr. Taraban's more recent content seems to be largely based on what the Red Pill community calls sexual market value. According to this theory, relationships between men and women can be simplified into an economic system. Men and women hold value to potential or actual sexual partners based on different things. Men based on income, women based on youth and age. The sexual market value theory is not credible or scientifically sound in the field of psychology. It greatly exaggerates and oversimplifies tiny seeds of truth from theories that do exist, such as the social exchange theory, which...
So She pretty much says that these are theories that do exist, but as a his as a um I don't know what do I call it. As a individual, he expands it, he develops it, he puts out his own he pushes out his own psychological thoughts. I mean, he so you could take certain theories and expand on it or reinvent it or reinterpret it, right? Or just expand upon it, right? Just put a different spin on it.
says that relationships are all a cost benefit analysis and they require some level of reciprocity for them to be healthy. Or the mating strategies theory, which says that people use different mating strategies, whether they're pursuing a short term or long term partner. Evolutionary psychology does love to talk about how men, on average, prefer younger and more beautiful partners, and women do, on average, tend to prefer men who have higher income due to evolutionary reasons. However,
So before she says, however, it's funny that she literally points out actual scientific theories or studies, but yet she said the first part was not true, right? He says he has nothing, he has no sound basis, yet she, in the same sentence, she pointed out that there are studies, there are people or, you know, works that supports it.
even when averages do exist, they're probabilistic, not deterministic, meaning it would be accurate to say women self-report preferring blank trait on average, but it's not scientifically supported to say women will always go for a Chad. And in fact, even within evolutionary psychology, large meta-analyses have raised questions into the
This is the thing where I'm sorry, this is, she literally just said like women on like,
accurate to say women self-report preferring blank trait on average, but it's not scientifically
like blank traits on average. Well, the blank traits, or let's say the chads, the looks. It's like this is the this is the disingenuous of a lot of women, right? It really is. This is I think it's this is the feminist that is in your therapy session.
supported to say women will always go for a Chad.
No one says that. See, you see how you see the disingenuousness of her, right? You see how I've never heard anyone says women will always go for a Chad, a Pookie, a player. No one says that. No one says women will always go for these types of men. No one says that, right? People do say that on average, women are attracted to these men. Doesn't say all women, right? And and a lot of times these conversations, men are talking in general, right? In general, it could be 51% of women, right? It could be 51% of women. It could be 90% of women, but it's just in general. Usually, right? When the talks is in general, it's more the majority, like about 51% at the very least. But it doesn't mean 100%. And it doesn't mean 100% of the time of anything. This is why women like this are disingenuous, where they're not listening to understand, they're listening to react.
And in fact, even within evolutionary psychology, large meta-analyses have raised questions into the assumption that men and women really do prefer these things. When those differences exist, effect size tend to be quite small, which suggests there are a lot more important variables at play in what draws people to each other. Gender equality in society tends to greatly reduce those differences. What people say they want in self-report questionnaires is often not what they actually go for in reality. And so
And that's true, right? That's true. Men in this spaces talk about this all the time, right? A lot of women, what they say they want, she literally proves a red pill talking point, right? She's literally proving a red pill talking point. Not, it doesn't matter what she says, it matters what she does, right? Red pill talking point. It's like plenty of men say that, you know what? Don't listen to what women say. Literally out of a woman's mouth, a psychologist's mouth, right? She's saying it doesn't matter what women say, it matters what women do. Plenty of times, men in these spaces have said the same thing.
truth seems to be that women tend to report prioritizing financial resources in a partner slightly higher than men do, and men tend to report wanting attractiveness and youth in a partner slightly more than women do. Evolutionary forces, of course, play a role in mate selection, but red pillars way exaggerate that role. And in my opinion, evolutionary psychology
How so? What do you mean way? It's like way. It's ridiculous. It really is, right? Way exaggerating it. What does that mean, right? I don't hear any red pillar say that women only want the chads, that women only want or men only want young and beautiful women, right? Never heard of that, right? So I don't know if it's an over exaggeration or not. I just don't really think that. But it is a good thing to understand that this is part of the mating, I guess, mating selection, or um, part of the dating market, right? Knowing that, you know what, women on average, in general, do desire men with money, right? Women on average, women, in general, do desire the good looking men, right? I mean, there are some dating studies, right, where 80% of women find only 20% of men attractive.
Is one of the weakest subfields of psychology. What else is at play in attraction? Human attraction is highly
And,
culture bound, time dependent,
the thing is, when is the weakest? It's usually because it's least studied, right? It's the probably one of the least studied.
individual, and attachment focused. Like in the early 2000s, it was considered attractive to be very heroin chic and wear low cut pants, whereas in the 2010s, it was the complete opposite. Women were supposed to be curvy and wear high waisted pants. One woman might be attracted to a man who's financially successful, while another might not care at all about it. And in fact, there is certainly no shortage of examples in society of women who end up with men who do not support them whatsoever. Attraction is also attachment based. It's not
But here's the thing, I don't disagree, but here's the thing, we look at results. A lot of marriages are based a lot of divorces are based on finance. So you literally disproved your theory, your opinion, right? A lot of divorces happen because of finance. So in reality, yeah, maybe women do go with men that aren't, financially stable, but they also leave said men because they're not financially stable. So yeah, no one's to say that, okay, she got with him because he wasn't financially stable, but she probably got with him maybe because he was good looking. Right? Tony leave him because, you know what? Actually, him not being financially stable is a big thing. It's, it's kind of it's actually within the work, the paperwork, or the studies and the evidence.
about what value that person brings to your life, but it's also about the bond that you ideally develop with them, which is why, for example, when someone's partner falls sick, people often continue to take care of them, even though they're not really getting anything out of the relationship anymore. In reality, attraction is not as simple as all men and all women benefit from relationships and want these specific.
This is the problem, right? This is the problem when women talk. Women talk is either it's all, right? It's all or one, right? So what I mean by is like, if it's not all, it's not about all, let's say all men, or it's about like this one person, then it doesn't make sense because you just can't talk in general. I would advise most men to never go to a female therapist. 100%, John. 100%. I would say the same thing. Don't go to these female therapists. It's not worth it.
Things which can distill a
Thank you for stopping by.
person's value into a concrete number. But let's look at some of Dr. Taraban's claims more closely, starting with this video that he titles his ideal woman a useful 8, because obviously we are all itching to know what Dr. Taraban's ideal woman is.
I'm Dr. Orion Taraban, and this is Psych Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic for today's short talk is a useful 8. So from time to time, I receive a specific question from both men and women. Orion, you talk so much about sexual relationships, so tell us, what is your ideal woman? Here it is. For me, an ideal woman is a useful 8.
So let's break down the
It's kind of funny, right? So when someone's giving their personal opinion, which he's doing in that video, you don't necessarily need, right? Scientific studies when you're giving your personal opinion, right? So it's weird that she took a video where a man is giving his personal opinion, not his psychologist's point of view, right? To, I don't know, support her theory that this man doesn't use scientific study. It's kind of disingenuous.
two components of the sentence: useful, which relies on this very self-centered transactional outlook of relationships, and 8, which relies on a very
Which the transactional, she literally in the beginning, she actually pointed to a study that talks about how human beings do value transactions.
objectifying view of relationships, which again boils down a person's value into one numerical score. Starting with the first part, useful. What, you might ask, does Dr. Taraban thinks makes a woman useful? Well, serving a man.
Well, it means that she must actively generate value. And 8, to be helpful. A good woman, a smart woman, once she secures access to a man, starts to look around, starts to carefully observe a man's life and what he is trying to accomplish in order to identify opportunities where she...
See, it's these women that use polarizing words, right? She says,
One numerical score. Starting with the first part, useful. What, you might ask, does Dr. Taraban thinks makes a woman useful? Well, serving a man.
serving, serving. While Taraban said helping. You see the what is it? What do I call it? It's not misdirection. It's the sneakiness of it, right? In the sense that she's using a very polarizing word, right? Serving a man, while Taraban using helping, right? Helping a man. This is the underhandedness of a lot of these women, right? They purposely do this shit because her audience, most likely, mostly women, his audience, men. But in his view, he's using help. He's not saying that women should serve you. Women should help you, right? Women that want you should help you. Not that women that want you should serve you. It's a very distinct difference because one is more triggering than the other, particularly to the type of audience.
Well, it means that she helpful. A good woman, a smart woman, once she secures access to a man, starts to look around, starts to carefully observe a man's life and what he is trying to accomplish in order to identify opportunities where she can be of service. But Orion...
Service, not serving. It's like, this is a thing where you guys hear, right? Where anyway, wherever she needs, she can help him, right? Help him in any parts of his life. It's the things where you got to rethink things, right? It's not that, because I think a lot of these women think that you're servitude, right? Submission, right? And it's like, it's not necessarily that. It's not really that. It's that, what's the further benefit, right? Being with you. It's a helpmate, right? A lot of religious texts is a woman being a man's helpmate.
Some women will say, why would I want to serve a man?
I think I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. That's a pretty disgusting way to view dynamics between men and women. It reveals a very hierarchical view of the genders, where women are relinquished.
I like it how I wish that I wish he didn't say serve. I liked it that he said help, because at the end of the day, it's less divisive, right? Women as this will use that word to, like she said, it's like she will use that word to attack his words, right? It's weird, right? I mean, like, you can't be direct with women. You have to be very mindful with the words you use.
To the role of servant. They're basically beneath men.
See, you see what I'm talking about? You see, this is the tactic, right? This is the tactic. This is why I wish he didn't say serve, right? Because again, I wish he stayed with help, right? A helpmate. Because again, women do this tactic all the time. Women will think that you are serving a man, you're servitude, you're beneath him. Literally, she's doing it. Textbook, right? While essentially, men would not think that, oh, women are serving a man. Women are being underneath a man. Men are not necessarily thinking like that, right? It's the helpmate.
Now, as you'll see later on in the video, Dr. Taraban likes to redefine words. So let's look at the actual definition of servant so that he can't sort of backtrack and pull a Mott and Bailey fallacy. A servant is an individual who performs duties about the person or home of a master or personal employer. So here we get an idea that is going to continue.
You see that I mean, okay, that's the definition of the word. This is why I prefer to use helpmate, right? I liked it when he said help, because women like this will take it literally as like servitude.
to come up in his content. That men are kind of like women's employers, and that romantic relationships should involve a woman doing things for a man that make his life easier. Now, what if
It's very disingenuous because women think the same thing. Right? This is why women like this are disingenuous, because women do think the same thing. Women do think that, what is the point of having a man if it doesn't make my life easier? Women say that constantly.
effect do you think this will have on relationships? What effect do you think it would have if people hearing Dr. Taraban's way of viewing things will also adopt it for themselves? Women will internalize the message that they are below men, that their worth is dependent on them making somebody else's life easier. And so they're probably going to stay in relationships with men who mistreat them, who confirm that belief that they're beneath them. Men are going to internalize the message that they are above women, and they're therefore going to feel more justified to mistreat women if they so desire. Because as we know based on the most recent research, mistreating other people basically boils down to entitlement and a sense of superiority. And regardless
No, I don't. That's not what. That's not fucking true at all. I mean, that's not. That's not necessarily how you think about it, right? It's that you will be with a woman, right, that brings more into your life than just her body. That's what it means, right? A helpmate, useful in a way, right? That her just giving her body equates to what? Not much, right? Same thing. You could say the same thing for women. Him giving you money is not the end all, the be all. It's what, right? That's the thing where there should be more to a relationship than just, let's say, the peer. Like literally, she said in the beginning, right? Money or looks isn't is not everything. And literally in his response in his video, he's saying that yes, you should do more than just that. But now she's countering it. That, oh, now it's just it's, I don't know, too transactional or too hollow or whatever. Like literally, she said she supported that theory that a relationship is more than just the superficial things, right? Looks or money. In his thing, he's saying that yeah, you should there should be more, right? You should be getting more out of relationship than the superficial level.
of gender, the relationship will deteriorate between two people hearing this because one or both partners will start to see it as transactional. And recent research has shown us how it's incredibly corrosive to treat relationships like transactions and to keep score. This
Pay me back, testing the implication of long-term changes and partner similarity in exchange for orientation within intimate relationships. Let me see. I mean, I don't know what that's about. Uh, I'm trying to look up the article because all she's doing is just giving a glancery shit. Let's read it out. I mean, I use ChatGPT to give me a glancery, thing. So the researchers wanted to know, does keeping score in a romantic relationship make the relationship worse? This is a thing where I don't know if he's saying keeping score, right? I don't know what he's saying. This is why I find a lot of women disingenuous. I don't believe he's meaning he when at least the first part, at least what he said, right? So I'm going on what exactly he said. I don't believe what he said was keeping score, right? I believe what him said is like the amount contributing to a relationship, right? How much are you contributing to the relationship, right? Like he said, look around. A woman, once she has a man, she looks around in his life, and what help? How much more can she help, right? What can she help in his life? Where's that really keeping score, right? It's more like a woman entering a man's life and now being more helpful to him, right? But let me read this study a little bit more. Specifically, they studied exchange orientation, right? Which is a tendency to think, I did something nice for you, so you owe me. If I sacrifice something, I expect repayment. Relationships should be balanced favor for favor, which I agree, right? Let me say this. The part where I definitely agree that uh exchange orientation, right? Tit for tat is not really the best thing. Okay. Because a lot of times it's hard to equate value to it, right? So if I cook you a meal, is that the same thing as me giving you $1,000 for an LV bag? Probably not, right? So it's when it comes to tit for tat, then you'll go to extremes where you are evaluating how much I did for you between how much you did for me, shit like that, right? I don't think that's what he's saying. I don't think is what we're saying. I think what he's saying is that how much contribution do you do for this person's life? It doesn't mean it's not saying that, oh, as the man, you should do how much contribution you do for her in exchange for it. No, it's just that if you love the person, if you want the person, right? What is your effort? What's the effort you do when you want to be with this person? Right? I think that's the main thing. Um, this wasn't a small survey. It's followed about 7,000 couples in Germany for 13 years. Okay, that's not bad. Couples became less transactional over time. As a healthy relationship developed, people expect repayment less. They keep score less. This happened on average across the sample. Keeping score predicted lower relationship satisfaction. This was the biggest finding. Again, well, right, it doesn't disprove that people weren't keeping score at the beginning. It just shows that it over time people did it less. Okay. So what he's pretty much saying is that how you establish the relationship, right? You got to build the love.
Recent long-term study from Germany found that when partners expect something in return for favors or sacrifices, their relationship satisfaction declines. It seems to be a pretty immediate predictor of a drop in the relationship satisfaction. Partners keep score, and immediately afterwards, their relationship quality plummets. There's no evidence in the study that people who are unhappier tend to then view relationships as more transactionally. The opposite seems to be true. And even if both partners are equally transactional in their view, that doesn't seem to help their relationship satisfaction. So a psychologist who encourages people to objectify each other and views relationships as transactional either doesn't have a good grasp of what science actually tells us is good for relationships, or doesn't really care and is just giving bad advice for profit. In reality, happy relationships are based on teamwork, positive regard, friendship. Reducing human beings to an economic framework is a recipe for relational unhappiness. What about the second half of his sentence?
The thing is that I don't see. I think that a lot of times this is like I said, it feels like she's going to be dishonest throughout this video. Okay, no one is saying that it should be surface level transactional, right? But it's dishonest to think that you gain no benefit from being in a relationship with somebody, right? Even women know it that if I'm in a relationship with you and I do shit for you, I do nothing for you, you would not want to be in that relationship, right? It's just that it's not the thing is that it's the expectations, it's the desire for you need to do something for me, then I will do something for you, right? It creates the transactional relationship. He's not necessarily talking about, oh, you got to do something for me so I can do something for you. No, no. He's saying that, you know what? A woman that wants you should want to do things for you, should want to help you out, right? Should want to please you, should want to make your life easier, should want to be a helpmate for you. Nothing about, oh, you know what? Don't do nothing for her if she doesn't do nothing for you, right? So it's a very misinterpretation, or just so a terrible way that she's going about how she's talking to reinterpreting his language, in my opinion.
An 8.
The 8 has to do with her perceived sexual marketplace value, or PSMV. A PSMV of 8 means that to me, within my own perception, the woman in question is an 8 out of 10. So she needs to be fairly attractive. Like, I've discovered that a woman must have a PSMV of at least 8 for me to maintain consistent sexual interest in her. As I've mentioned previously, my rule of thumb here is that I should be able to walk into most rooms with a given woman and want to leave with the woman I brought. If I walk into too many rooms too often and I see other women I'd rather be leaving with, I'm just going to be real. It's very unlikely that that relationship is going to last, as I'm going to be emotionally pulled in other directions.
Studies also show that people who objectify others tend to be higher in the dark tetrad traits, which as a reminder are narcissism, psychopathy, sadism, and Machiavellianism. They tend to be more exploitative, more entitled, to experience issues in having happy relationships. The researcher said, our findings suggest that a propensity for objectification is predicted by an unwillingness to maintain positive relationships with others, lower intellectual openness, higher entitlement and exploitativeness, and low tendency to positively respond to others' favors. Dr. Taraban says he can't really maintain sexual interest in a woman who's below an 8. Otherwise, he has a wandering eye. And of course, sexual attraction is important in a relationship. It's a key piece of the puzzle. But if your interest in your partner is dependent on external stimuli, meaning what other women you see when you go out into the world, I find that pretty sad and ego-driven. Notice Dr. Taraban's language when he talks about relationships. He says sexual relationship, not romantic or intimate relationship. In long-term partnerships, sexual attraction is not the most important thing or the only thing that matters. It might be the initial spark that draws two people to each other.
I find it just yo, Artie, what is up? What is up, my brother? How you been? How have you been? Again, it's kind of dishonest. I mean, he's not saying what she's saying.
And hopefully it's strong enough to last a lifetime. But that initial spark should ideally also open the door for vulnerability, emotional closeness, trust, care, respect, teamwork, support. Relationship science tends to distinguish between initial attraction and relational arousal, meaning the draw you feel towards someone with whom you've developed a deep long-term relationship. If you find yourself not wanting to be faithful to someone because there are other more attractive options out there, it begs the question, have you ever actually developed a deep enough relationship with someone where you know what that relational arousal even is? And if you haven't ever experienced that, are you really in a position to be giving people relationship advice, or are you just encouraging them to also adopt your stunted, transactional, objectifying view of other people?
She's trying to use her perceived intelligence to dissect another man's intelligence, right? Here's the thing where a lot of these women are, ridiculous, where there are certain types of men. Now, I'm not saying Taraban is that type of man. He could be, right? I mean, it'll probably be a 6-figure man. But there are certain types of men that fall into the category where attraction is a big key factor, right? The man is semi-desirable, I would assume, right? Highly educated, um, you know, good financial status, right? I'm not saying I don't know his height, looks, he's about average, right? Nothing special. But he has many other qualities that put him into a higher tier, higher tier dating market. So could you be surprised that he has certain kind of standards? It's fine. It's fine. It's weird that, again, he gives I just find it funny, right? It's like, she said that if a man has this kind of view, how can he give advice to others? I think it's funny when psychologists or therapists say shit like this, because honestly, they also suffer from mental issues, yet they can give advice, psychological advice. It's funny to me, right? It's kind of the hypocrisy of it. But again, he's giving his own personal, views on his, how he navigates his life or how he would navigate his life. That's not the necessary same advice he would give to just anyone and everyone, right? This is why it's shit like this is disingenuous, right? Because it's just dishonest. Because again, therapists should know that I can give advice to this person won't be the same thing I give advice to that other person. I may do certain things in my life, doesn't mean that that other person should do the same thing, right? I mean, that's kind of logical. Really? Okay, Taraban isn't to be trusted. He's Jack Rollo sayings and show topics directly after he does them. I see through the honesty he proclaims to have. I mean, to be honest, I don't watch a lot of his stuff, so I'm not saying I'm a fan of his or like I'm necessarily defending him. But what I'm doing saying is, logic to logic. That's what I'm saying, right? So I'm not supporting him as a person or as a creator or anything, right? I'm saying what he's saying to what she's saying.
Studies also show that people tend to end up in relationships with people who are similar in attractiveness to them. So if you're going to expect an above average attractive woman, it's probably only realistic to expect that if you yourself are above average in attractiveness. Of course, there are exceptions. There are always people.
Yeah, I just find it funny. She's literally going to say the exceptions.
People who date out of their league, as people say. But if you feel entitled to a woman who is substantially more attractive than you, I do have to give a little bit of a side eye to that, because remember, entitlement in relationships is a pretty dangerous ingredient. Now, why, you might ask, doesn't he want a woman who's above 8 in attractiveness? Well, folks,
It's like, again, she knows. It's weird that she's saying entitled. No one is saying they're entitled to that, right? You could say you want that, right? You want a woman that's this attraction level. It's like it's again, she's putting words right into his mouth.
it seems like this man believes in the crazy hot matrix, which is all very scientific and credible.
Because, in my experience, women much higher than an 8 tend to come with a whole host of problems. Like, I'm sure you've seen the crazy hot matrix. There's some truth to that.
This is a comment from a psychologist, by the way. I'm assuming that couch is where he used to treat his clients.
I've dated some women who were pretty high up in terms of their PSMV, and while there certainly were some enjoyable aspects to that experience, these women were also just a fucking handful. These women are kind of like exotic supercars. Yes, they look amazing. Yes, they turn heads and inspire envy. Yes, you're going to feel like $1,000,000 when you pull up to the spot with one. But there are so many hidden costs and inconveniences with
See, it's like this is why I find it like
are kind of like exotic supercars. Yes, they look amazing. Yes, they turn heads and inspire envy. Yes, you're going to feel like $1,000,000 when you pull up to the spot with one.
notice how all these perks are about bolstering one's own social status. Is this about actual attraction or just looking? Here's the thing where, again, let's be honest. He was talking about himself. He's talking about himself. We don't know this man's life. Okay, we don't. If that's his life, that is his life. He's not giving this. He's not giving these takes. He's not giving. This is not an advice, right? We preference how this video was in the beginning of his video, right? It's about his personal life, right? It's about his personal views. This is not like advice to a client, right? This is why what she said before, right? Oh, this is where he gives advice to people. This is not what he's giving advice to people. This is what he feels, right? This is what he believes for himself. So we can all understand that if you are at, let's say, again, highly intelligent, women are very picky, right? When it comes to schooling, right? Women want highly educated men. 2, he probably fits the financial aspect. Most likely this man is, in the higher 6 figures. I mean, like, literally psychiatrist and, a 1 million subscriber count channel. This man is probably making a decent amount of money. Okay. So he fits a lot of the tier that a lot of women want. So I just find it ridiculous that, yeah, maybe he's top part of the group where he would want a woman that bolsters his social status. Yo, Organic, what is up? What is up? I've watched him for a while. He's a clown, certified guy. Why is he a clown? He is a psych guy. Never trust those who can't be honest or real with the academics of any industry. They know the glass ceiling and either won't go past it or act like living under is real. I don't know. I mean, again, I don't really watch him like that, right? So, to be honest, let's say this, right? I don't really care for any psychiatrists or psychologists or therapists, right? I don't, right? Because at the end of the day, no one is perfect enough to, clearly solve your problems, right? Now, anyone can give you advice, I think, but I think that no one is clearly perfect enough to give you, solve your problems.
But there are so many hidden costs and inconveniences with respect to their maintenance. They're just not practical cars, and they are extremely expensive to acquire and maintain. Like, the work is never ending, in large part because the intrasexual competition is relentless. I'd get up to go to the bathroom at a restaurant, and there would almost always be guys hitting on them when I got back.
The matrix that he's talking about shows how even the most prized, valued women in a misogynistic person's worldview, a woman who's attractive, is devalued and objectified, reduced to her attractiveness, to the point where she cannot possibly hold any other positive traits, because that would humanize her too much. If you concede that a woman has value, it has to be the only metric across which she holds value. Because if you can also say, oh, well, she's also kind of funny, and she's kind, and she's smart, you veer way too close to actually viewing her as a human being. Now, Dr. Taraban's next video is titled, Men Are the
This is the thing where, again, he's not necessarily representative of the average man in the sense that maybe his looks is, but his other credentials aren't, right? His other credentials put him above the average man, right? High delicate, highly credited, educated person, which I assumed, right? And probably higher middle class person, right? He's probably a higher middle class person, so he's a tier above average. Um, and let's be honest, right? He is saying that the more chaos a woman can bring, even if she has other great attributes, chaos isn't a great thing.
The prize. Oh boy. Before we dive in, I have a question for you. Do you like my thumbnail for this video? I recently switched up the style of my kind of like, what's the difference between them? Really like, what is appealing to people about this? And I learned a lot. And I've since changed a few things about my thumbnails. I sprinkle context in a relationship. A relationship consists of two human beings who should both feel valued and value the other person. If only one person feels like the prize and they do not prize their partner, that's an uneven dynamic that's not likely to last long or to be very happy.
So there seems to be a perennial debate online about who is the prize in modern relationships. Is the woman the prize?
He organically came out trashing the manosphere just to switch his tune when he realized that psych degrees doesn't go far as he thought it would. I didn't know that. I didn't know that he trashed them. He was trashing the manosphere. That's not cool. But I mean, to be honest, uh, this is why I've said this before. I don't follow anybody like that. I really don't, because I do agree. A lot of people can be two-faced, or they're not like you said, right? They're not original, or they're not truly honest, right? If he doesn't like the manosphere, if he wants to trash the manosphere, stick to that, right? There's a niche for that, right? Definitely a niche for that. Plenty of panders that trash the manosphere. So, but I mean, if he switched up, I don't know.
Or is the man the prize? And I'm here to weigh in on the matter because I think I can resolve this once and for all. Listen to me. If a top shelf woman is a diamond, a top shelf man is a diamond mine. Why?
He looks so pleased with himself. I'm crying. Okay.
Because men are disproportionately the producers of value. On a global level, men, through their labor and effort and ingenuity, produce far more than their fair share of global GDP. And when you rise up the scale and examine the demographic characteristics of millionaires and billionaires,
Yes, he has a pass, and unfortunately, it will stay documented online. That is true. That is true. This is why I try to be as consistent as possible with who I am online. You're not gonna see me. To be honest, you're not gonna see me switch up. Right? I'm not gonna all of a sudden pander to women. 100%, I won't. Right? I'm not gonna all of a sudden pander to the left or to Democrats. No, not likely at all.
this observation becomes even more true. Like all the 20 richest men in the world built something. On the other hand, all the 20 richest women in the world received their wealth through divorce or inheritance. So if we're comparing apples to apples, that is a top shelf woman to a top shelf man, the conclusion is obvious. No one, man or woman, no one is going to prefer a single diamond, no matter how lovely, to a diamond mine.
Dr. Taraban claims that top shelf men make value while top shelf women receive it. So he really kind of tells on himself for how he completely neglects everything that women contribute to society. There's this
He's literally comparing apples to apples, right? He's not comparing every woman. He's not comparing the average women. This is why I said it's disingenuous, right? And this is why I'm only critiquing or reacting to what he says. So I don't really know the man's history like that. I'm not really watching his older videos. I'm watching what she's using, and I'm reacting to it along with her, right? While I'm reacting to her, right? So Whether this man is truthful or whatever, I don't really care, right? But I can see his point for his point, right? He's comparing apples to apples, while she is using his apple and comparing it to an orange.
Notion in the manosphere that men are the only ones contributing, men are the only ones inventing and furthering society, when in reality, women make up the majority of healthcare workers, the majority of education workers.
It's kind of ridiculous, right? I mean, healthcare workers, guess what? The machine women use, it, uh, the building they use, that's maintained and created by men. Educator, well, I don't know, the material educators use, the books, the chalk, the whatever, men created, invented, maintain. The building these women use to educate kids in, men created, men maintain. It's like,
Majority of childcare workers, both within and outside the home. And I can already hear the misogynistic clapback. But those are female fields, which means they are intrinsically devoid of any value because the masculine.
no, those are valuable, right? Being a nurse, people of medical is valuable. Teachers are valuable. I would not say that, right? I don't know. Maybe there are misogynists that would say that, but I don't think many men would say that. Those are valuable profession, right? Those are much needed. But again, they're devoid, right? You can't have. I mean, without men, you can't have those.
Fields are the ones that are actually important. Okay, women also have important contributions to more traditionally masculine fields as well. Take, for example, in STEM, the woman who discovered nuclear fission, the antidote to malaria, the helix shape of DNA. In business, when women are in top-up leadership positions, those institutions tend to perform better. Women's leadership style has also been found to be more effective than men's in certain ways. But of course, the misogynist would respond.
In certain ways, I kind of find that a little misleading, right? I don't really think. I mean, like in general, men's leadership is much preferred, right? Men's leadership has produced more.
Oh, but those are just a few contributions. They're just a minority compared to men's contributions. It's almost like men was until very, very recently.
And again, here's the thing where this is why women like this, I continue to say it, right? Is misleading because one, she used specific cases, right? Two, she's comparing things to what he's not comparing, right? Literally, he says 20 richest men, 20 richest women. That's what he's comparing, right? Apple to apple. That's what he's comparing. It's like really ridiculous. Let me say this, right? If I'm going to say top tier men, right? As much as I hate it or like it, yeah, top tier men are the prize. Why? Because one, they're rare, right? They are rare. Top tier men, highly valuable men, high value men. They are the prize because they're more desirable, right? They're more desirable by more women. I mean, like seriously, if a man desires a beautiful woman, guess what? A beautiful woman is dime a dozen. Why is it dime a dozen? Dating statistics have shown that 80% of men find 80% of women attractive. It's not that hard to find an attractive woman, right? It is hard to find an attractive man, right? In women's eyes. So because women don't understand that they contribute to the dating market, you have created why men are the prize. Not men in general, right? Why high value men are the prize. Majority of men are not the prize, right? I will say that true, right? When we're talking about, when we are bringing the tier list down to average, yeah, average men are not the prize, right? Average men are not the prize because they're not highly desirable, right? Oh, I like that. 80% of men enter poverty through marriage. 80% of women escape poverty through marriage. That's interesting. I like that. That's an interesting stat. But yeah, this is again, this is the thing where, like I said, average men not really the prize. Average women are generally the prize, right? But again, you aren't comparing the same thing he's comparing.
And arguably still to this point, structured in a way that women couldn't take part in a lot of those industries that cerebral work. It's kind of like telling women, you're not allowed to come into the smart people room, then bolting it shut. And then when
she's using her feminist agenda to add onto his conversation or his topic. It's ridiculous.
Women managed to break in and claw their way into the smart people room, saying, see, only a couple women are in the smart people room. There's been a very clear pattern across history where traditionally female-dominated fields are initially devalued, and then once men get involved in them, suddenly we prop them up as really valuable, important fields. An example is how women used to be a lot of the medical workers. If we look at, the precursors to medicine, they were the ones doing midwifery, they were the ones doing herbal medicine, experimenting with trial and error to see what works to cure certain diseases, and then men got involved, called it medicine, and now we greatly value that field.
What are you talking about? Men got involved? Are you saying that women started medicine? Are you saying that women were the first doctors? What are you talking about? Men got involved. There were always like witch doctors. They were all. This shit is disingenuous, right? I don't need to back shit up with actual data because this is dishonest. Are you saying that men were never in medicine before women? It's like, are you kidding me? This is why it's stupid, right? It's like she's trying to be logical, right? Proofs, but she's being dishonest, right? If she's saying that, oh, women started medicine, women started the medical field, but it's only until men came in and steal it, or I don't know, entered it and then changed it up, and now men made it. What are you talking about? You saying that there were no male doctors before women were doing it? Absolutely ridiculous.
Field, but also traditionally male-dominated fields, once women get involved in them, they are devalued. So you might not know this, but nursing actually used to be male-dominated and very respected. And then once women got involved in nursing, we decided as a society that it's not important. So we have the fact that women...
What are you talking about? Where's the narrative that nursing isn't important? I don't, what narrative? I mean, maybe I'm living in a different world, right? Maybe I'm living in a different world, but I don't hear the narrative that people devalue nursing, right? I mean, nursing is one of the most highest paying fields, right? Literally, a lot of nurses become six figures, right? I mean, a lot of women become six-figure earners thanks to nursing, right? If you can become six-figure earners, the job isn't valueless, right? It's ridiculous.
And we're literally gatekept from certain fields. We have this phenomenon where anything that women get involved in seems to lose all its value, according to society. We also have...
What the fuck are you talking about? According to what society? I don't know. Maybe we're living in different societies, but no one is saying that nursing is like, there's no value to nursing.
Have a lot of men across history who straight up took credit for men's work and stole a lot of the credit for the inventions that they made. And when women provide value to society because of implicit biases such as the ones Dr. Taraban demonstrates, they're often not even believed. Like a lot of the time.
Yeah, they believe their own lies and manipulation. I agree. Organic. I agree 100%. These women are delusional.
Back in the day, female authors, it was assumed that like their husbands had written the books for them because it was like, how could a woman possibly write so well? It's just not possible. So Dr. Taraban's entire premise that men create...
It's ridiculous, right? You're using the past to, I don't know, bolster your opinions of the present. He's using right now, right? 20 wealthiest men right now compared to the 20 wealthiest women right now. It's like women like this is ridiculous.
Value and women have it handed to them reveals a lot more about his sexist worldview than it does about actual society. So his thesis in this video is that women are diamonds, but men are diamond mines, which would sound so clever if it weren't entirely based on a faulty assumption. If that's what you think, then go be with a man. Literally, no one is forcing you to date women if you think they're so useless.
Who's saying they're useless? It's like, okay, so like, would she still be saying the same thing if he said that women were the prize, right? That women were the diamond mine and men were the diamond? Would she say the same thing? I doubt you. I doubt it, right? He's not saying that women are useless, right? He's not saying that. He's saying that, you know what? On average, men are more valuable, right? Or can be more valuable. And he used a select few men to show the value, right? Again, he's literally saying these top tier men, not saying all women. It's like this woman is misrepresenting his logic, right? I think it's disingenuous.
Caravan also doesn't seem to hold older women in very high regard either.
And of course, a diamond's luster is going to fade, whereas a mine is likely to produce more value over the same period.
The implication being that aging reduces a woman's value, which once again boils down a woman's value to her reproductive capabilities. It completely erases.
See, this is the thing that is scientifically true. It is scientifically true that women's reproductive capabilities decrease over time. And when in the dating market, right, in the dating world, right, when it comes to dating, your reproductive abilities is very important, right? It's important. It's a factor of mating. This is a woman that's supposed to be logical, but she's spewing like she's highly emotional, right? It's logical that you would assume that, yes, men do value women's reproductive capabilities. That is valuable when it comes to mating or the dating market. It's scientifically proven, right, that women's fertility is important to men. It is 100%, right, true. That is value. That is part of the value matrix, right? The value package. And it's true. It's been proven that as women age, value does decrease in the dating market, right? There are studies that show that men prefer women between the age of, like, I don't know, 25, around 25. That's been, like, talked about a lot. There's been a study. So it's like
all of the ways that women contribute to society that is not dependent on their bodies or their appearance.
Sadly, men won't stop because, again, if you're relatively attractive, there will always be weak men, right? There will always be simp men. There will always be men that, you know what? If they are feminist men, there will always be a man for a woman.
I can only imagine the effect it would have on an older woman hearing this, to feel like, oh my God, I literally have no worth in this world. So, like, why am I even here?
See, this is the problem, right? You are supposed to be, an academic. You're supposed to be logical, right? There is it is logical to say that there's different worlds, right? A dating world, right? Right, that men and women dynamic, and general society. No one is saying that women as a human is less valuable, right? No one is saying that. But sadly, women as a mate, right, is less valuable. That is true. Those are different aspects. Those are different, like, essentially, probably you could say different worlds, right? They have different value systems, right? As a human, it's usually, maybe what else you can produce, what else you can provide to the world, maybe besides reproduction or children or whatever, right? She could be a worker, she could be a CEO, she could be, I don't know, whatever, right? There could be more value to you outside of your reproductive capabilities. But in mating, right? In men and women dynamics, your reproductive capability is very important. It's very important. It's literally mating, right? Like, imagine in the animal kingdom, you can't give birth. You are essentially useless. I'm sorry. You are. Right? But thanks to humans evolving, we separated the world, right? We civilized the world. So there is more than the dating market. There's more than just the mating aspect. But it doesn't mean that it's non-existent.
And at the end of the day, women agree with me.
No, we don't. You don't speak for us. His next video is titled "The."
Women do, right? Women do agree with him. Why? How do you say women do agree with him? The makeup industry is a billion-dollar industry. Women do a lot of things to continue to look young, right? That is a fact. Women in general spend millions to billions to continue to look young, right? To put on a persona of youth, of fertility, right? The egg freezing industry, right? It's growing in millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, right? So it is true that fertility matters, youth matters. So women may say they don't agree, but women's actions, they agree. Literally, she pointed out, right? What women say, it doesn't matter. It's what women do, right? It's what women do. Here's this woman who is pretty much, countering the things she said later on.
The reality of modern family.
The archetypal modern family is a nuclear family. That is, a family consisting of a couple with a child or two living together by themselves in a single household. This isn't exactly new. However, what is novel is that in the vast majority of cases in today's day and age, both parents are working. And it's this fact that creates a lot of the ridiculousness that I'm going to discuss.
Dr. Taraban's idea of this old nuclear family is incredibly revisionist, filled with historical inaccuracies, and it has a very Western sort of ethnocentric approach. In most cultures, parents and children cohabitated with or near extended family, and child rearing was much more of a communal group effort than we tend to think of this 1950s view of the family where we have a mom and a dad and two kids raising kids on their own. In Eastern Europe, where I come from, I was raised until the age of...
Was the guy talking about Eastern Europe? He's American, talking about American culture, and now you're bringing other cultures into his example, into his his video. It's this is what I'm saying. This is the disingenuousness of it, right? You're not pointing out what did she said?
Approach. In most cultures, parents and
it's this fact that creates a lot of the ridiculous
is incredibly revisionist, filled with historical inaccuracies, and it has a very...
She literally didn't point any historical inaccuracies, right? Yo, Laughing Man, what is up, my brother? What is up? I'm doing well. What is up, my brother? Yeah, she's literally not pointing out historical inaccuracies. What she's doing is she's bringing up other cultures, right? She's not really talking about American culture.
Western sort of ethnocentric approach. In most cultures, parents and children cohabitated with or near extended family, and child rearing was much more of a communal group effort than we tend to think of this 1950s view of the family where we have a mom and a dad and two kids raising kids on their own. In Eastern Europe, where I come from, I was raised until the age of 4 by my...
She literally pointed out, right, the truth to what he said, right? 1950s. She literally pointed that out. So for her to counteract that point is she brought up another culture, right? Oh, it didn't happen in this culture. Bitch, who's talking about that culture? Who's talking about that culture? He's talking about American culture, right? The nuclear family is an American ideology, right? It's not I don't know, what did she say? Eastern European? It's not an Asian. It's not part of other culture, right? The nuclear family, that concept isn't part of other culture. That is an American ideology. And now you're trying to counter it by bringing other culture into it? Do you have zero brain cells or what? You are someone with a degree. Your logical fallacy is ridiculous, right? Your straw man argument, it's literally, he's not talking about other culture. He's talking about American culture, right? American ideology. It is 100% true. American ideology is the nuclear family. That is 100% true. But how you counteract that truth is that you bring in the ideology of another culture, of another nation.
My grandma. My cousin lived with our grandma. And
exactly. It's always attack the person individually, never the argument. Liberal logic, I guess.
Until his mid-30s. I have one aunt who still lives with her mom at age 70 and one aunt who lives in the same house as her in-laws. It's also very revisionist to act like women were always just staying at home raising the kids. Throughout history, most women were working, either as peasants or doing some sort of manual labor or some sort of craftsmanship. It was only the upper class women who stayed at...
That is true. I'll give her credit. That is true. A lot of women want to fight against that, right? So I don't hear as many women, speaking out. Yes, it's true. Women throughout history have always worked, right? Particularly the lower class, right? Particularly lower middle to lower class both parties have always had work, right? Usually what Taraban is probably saying is middle class, right? to have a nuclear family, it's usually middle class, right? Not talking about lower class, not talking about even lower middle class, right? It's usually a middle class lifestyle, right? The nuclear family is the middle class lifestyle. So I love that she said that, yes, women throughout history, most women were working, right? Most women that are lower middle to lower class are always working because you need two incomes for a household, right? So yes, but again, I'm sure that Taraban is talking about, when you talk about a nuclear family, it's the middle class lifestyle.
Home, which obviously is a minority of women.
Modern women are now financially dependent on their employers, who are typically male.
Modern women are now financially dependent on their employers. Yeah, so are men. Notice how
Men have always been dependent on their employers. Now women has joined that I don't know, demographic. Okay.
he does this thing where he manipulates the narrative by only giving selective information, by only talking about half of the situation.
I just find it funny to say that you manipulate the narrative. I already give you a few examples where she's doing exactly that, manipulating the narrative, kind of changing what he's saying or reinterpreting what he's saying to fit her narrative. So literally she's manipulating the conversation a lot.
He could have said modern people are financially dependent on their employers, but he specifically singled out
Women, because men were always dependent on their employers, right? Men were always, this is why she's disingenuous, right? This is why she's manipulating the narrative. Men have always been dependent on their employers because it was a job, right? Men have always been dependent on lawyers. Even during the time where women were working, women found side jobs, right? In the sense that either women were selling things, right, themselves, or I don't know, doing things like they're finding ways to work without necessarily not working for a man or whatever, right?
modern women because of the narrative that he's trying to send. It's the same phenomenon as when a lot of red pillars will talk about the male suicide rate, where they say, you know, men are victims because men tend to take their own lives at higher rates. And yet what they're completely neglecting is that, yes, while men tend to complete suicide at higher rates, women tend to attempt it at higher rates. And this is not like a suffering contest, right? Like, it's not about like, oh, well, that means the women suffer more than men and we should feel worse for them. We should have compassion for both of these groups of people, for sure. But only.
But here's the problem, right? Here's the problem. When women are suffering, right? When women are suffering, at the very least, women support that. Women acknowledge it, right? At the very least, right? This is why this is dishonest, right? This is why this woman she don't listen to comprehend. She listens to react. When women suffer, women support women. When men suffer, nobody, not even men, support men, right? Before the whole talk about how men brought up that, oh, men suffer at high, self-deletion rate, nobody cared. Men didn't care, right? Men didn't talk about it. Women definitely didn't talk about it. Nobody was talking about it, right? Nobody cared if men suffer. Neither men nor women cared that men suffered. Nobody. When women suffer, at the very least, women cared, right? At the very least. So in a time where, you know what, men want others to care, right? Whether it's men or women, no duh, they bring up shit that happens to men. Because they're not trying to say, oh, don't give a shit about women. Don't care about women. No. They're saying is that care about men. That's it. Care about men. They're not talking about women. You do you. It's like what happens to you, it's happening, right? No one is saying that it's bad or good or whatever. What men are saying when they bring up the self-deletion rate is that shit are happening to men. Care, please, right? Right? If you could care, if you're willing to care, please care. That's what that's why men bring up the self-deletion rate, right? Because men want others to care. Because it's an important thing. It's like she's literally trying to bring it as like, oh, what about women? It's like, okay, no one is saying that, women suffering is not women suffering should not be recognized. No one is saying that. Men are saying that, oh, you know what? Men are suffering, so, we should know. Because in reality, at the very least, women do care about women. At the very least, right? And I bet you men do care as well. But sadly, it's different for men. Nobody cares, right? During the whole time when men start bringing up the self-deletion rates, nobody cared. Nobody cared what was happening to men.
Talking about half of the equation that makes it convenient for you to run with a specific narrative is really manipulative, because if you presented the other half of the equation as well to people, your narrative would kind of crumble on itself. Think about like,
You see, this is the whole thing, right? The whole whataboutism, right? That, I get attacked by sometimes, is that sometimes whataboutisms is perfectly fine, right? I think whataboutisms are perfectly fine. But sometimes whataboutism, it's not needed, right? It's not needed. So when in this argument, right, it's saying that, men suffer from self-deletions, right? Men suffer from it a lot. Then just like, what about women? What about women? The thing is, why is that not needed? It's because no one is saying that women don't suffer, right? No one is not saying that. Plus, like I said, women do, at the very least, do care what's happening to women. The problem in this situation when you bring in whataboutisms, right, is that nobody cares what's happening to men, right? So you bring up a situation that nobody cares, right? So it doesn't make sense to now bring up whataboutisms because you're trying to distract from someone caring about what happens to men, right? That's why. You because no one is saying that, we should care about what happens to women. Of course. The problem is we also know that nobody cares what's happening to men. So we're bringing this up. Doesn't negate this, but since nobody cares about this, it is important to talk about this more than this. At least to the men that are talking about this, right? They care about this, not because they don't care about this, but because nobody cares about this, right? So that's why they care about it, right? That's why they're bringing it up and not bringing up the other stuff, right? Not bringing up what's happening to women. Not because it's not important, because it is, but because this is not important to nobody. So they're trying to bring some importance to this, right? Bring some importance to what's happening to men. This is why whataboutisms will fail in certain situations, right? Because honestly, it doesn't make sense for the conversations, right? It doesn't make sense for the conversation. That's why when whataboutism fails, right? It doesn't make sense. Now I'm trying to think of an example of when whataboutisms do work, right? Okay, whataboutisms, right? When it do work, right? So let's say the situation of women, right? When women say men are violent, right? Men are violent, men are terrible, men are dangerous, okay? Now when I bring up a whataboutism, women are just as terrible, women are this or that. Why did I bring that up, right? It's not that I'm not saying that that's not true. I'm not saying that it's not true. The problem is, why did I bring up whataboutism to that situation? Is because we are painting men as violent, right? When I bring up a whataboutism, women are just as violent, it's to show you that being a man doesn't automatically make you violent, right? Men don't automatically born to be violent because women can be violent as well. That is why I would say a whataboutism, right? It's not to say that, yes, true, men are violent, men can be violent, but here's the thing. I bring up what about women? Because here's the thing, it shows you that being a man doesn't automatically make you violent. That is the logic, right? I mean, maybe I'm not smart enough, but this is how I interpret that logic, right? This is how when I say whataboutism, it makes sense because of I'm not discrediting it, but I'm reinterpreting it, right? Because when women say men are violent, I'm saying, yeah, women can be too. It doesn't mean that I'm bringing whataboutism to necessarily downplay it. I'm bringing whataboutism to necessarily show you that it's not about being a man that makes you violent. It's just about being a bad person, right? Because a woman can be violent, so can a man. A man can be violent, so can a woman. So it's, in general, it's not about the sex, right? It's not about the type of demographic you're from that makes you violent, right? So that's my thought process and whataboutism, right? So
like in an interpersonal context. Think about somebody who's coming to you and saying, oh my God, my friend Lacey, she just completely cut me off. And she said, I don't ever want to hear from you again. And you go, oh my God, like that's so heartless. That's so cold. That's terrible of her. And then you go talk to Lacey and Lacey says, this person killed my cat. Like, of course I don't want to talk to them anymore because they murdered my cat. Wouldn't you then go to this first person and be like, yo, you completely neglected half of the equation. You didn't tell me the full story because there was something that you wanted me to believe. People do this with argumentation all the time. They selectively choose what information to give you. They cherry pick the information they're presenting so that you will believe their narrative instead of presenting you with the full spectrum of the information at their disposal that doesn't actually fit their narrative. Now, Dr. Taraban says the following about modern families, and he makes sure to say it twice because for some reason he thinks he really ate with that one.
In a modern family, the man is working to earn money so that he can support a woman who is not his wife to raise his children, and the woman is serving a man who is not her husband to secure her desired lifestyle. I will say that again. In a modern family, the man is working to earn money so that he can support a woman who is not his wife to raise his children, and the woman is serving a man who is not her husband to secure her desired lifestyle.
In reality, it reveals a lot more about his biases against women than it does about the true nature of gender dynamics. Notice how the same act, having an employer, is framed very differently based on gender. A woman having an employer is a woman serving her employer. A man having an employer is him trying to earn money so that he can support his family. Men working is being framed as an act of generosity and virtue. Women doing exactly the same thing is framed as an act of selfishness and greed.
Well, you got to think about the outcomes. You got to think about the results. Men make money to have a family. Women make money so they don't need a family. It is logical in context, right? This is the problem with a lot of women, right? It is logical in context. Women make money so they don't need a man, right? So they won't need a man. So they serve this man, right? They serve a different man, so they won't have to serve another man, right? A man is only with having this job for the purpose of getting a woman, right? Men's purpose, men's usual purpose, right? General purpose is to get a family when they do work, right? When they do a job or whatever. So there is a clear distinction. There's a bit of a difference to it, right?
Also presumes that there used to be a world where men provided and women served, but again, that's not historically accurate. Dr. Taraban claims that this is why birth and marriage rates are plummeting, because people are saying, why bother start a family if things are upside down?
Okay? And if that's the case, then we have to ask, why fucking bother? Seriously.
And he doesn't really need to come up with his own theory about why birth and marriage rates are plummeting, because we actually have data that tells us the reasons. In reality, polls show us that both genders do still want both marriage and kids, the majority part of them. But the top reasons they cite for not being able to actualize those desires include financial instability, fear of climate change, and trouble finding the right person. Nowhere in there do we see, how did he put it? In a modern family, the man is working to earn money so that he can support a woman who's not his wife to raise his children, and the woman serving a man who's not her husband to secure her desired lifestyle. Like, that's not a thing that people tend to cite as a reason for why they're not getting married. He's framing it as if most people have this defeatist attitude on relationships. In reality, most people still crave deep emotional bonds with each other, but there are external constraints stopping them from pursuing or achieving the connection that they desire.
Isn't that kind of defeatist? Right? I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, right? Maybe I'm not as highly educated, but isn't that defeatist, right? She just literally said, he's pretty much saying that people have a defeatist attitude, while she's saying that most people have a defeatist attitude. Is that not what's coming across? I think that's what's coming across, in my opinion, right? Maybe I'm misinterpreting what she's saying, but it sounds like what she's saying is a defeatist attitude.
Each other. It's defeatist attitude on relationships. In reality, most people still crave deep emotional bonds with each other, but there are external constraints stopping them from pursuing or achieving the connection that they desire. So
stopping them from achieving it, you're being defeated. Is that not the same thing? Maybe like I said, I'm not as highly accredited as she is. So I'm probably not as smart, right? I'll give that. But it sounds like still a defeatist attitude.
What's his proposed solution? Men should strive to make lots of money, and women should marry older men earlier in their life.
So what's to be done? Well, men can and should work to become above average. Increasing his wealth and prosperity is not only going to benefit that man directly, it's going to allow him to access more and more attractive mating and dating opportunities. Women.
You know, the part of the manosphere that I kind of disagree with, right, is that men should just make more money. Now, I think men should strive to be their best. It's a little bit different, right? So, not everyone can be a millionaire. It's just it's just statistically, or in my opinion, impossible, right? Not everyone's going to be a millionaire. I'm sorry. I just don't think that's possible. So if no one, if everyone can't be a six-figure man or a millionaire, that means some, if not most, will be just average earners, right? So the best you can be, right? If the best you can be is like 50, 60, 70, 80K, that's good, right? Strive to be the best version of yourself. And find a woman that will accept, that will find value 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 in you of your best version, right? That's what you should be doing. That's what I believe, right? There are women that will find value in you at whatever best version that you have, right? Because the best version of yourself is for yourself. It's for you to not regret that, you know what, I'm giving my all, right? I'm giving this woman my all. So I want to be the best version of myself because I love her. So I want to give her the best I can give her. Because again, not everyone can be a millionaire, but everyone can be the best version of themselves, right? All you need to do is just find a woman that accepts the best version of yourself, right? That doesn't, you know what, I want something better. Well, then that's not a woman for you, right? If you want something better, she can go find it. That's how I see it, right? I see it like that, where, again, get a passport, my brother. Get a passport. Travel the world. There are women that will love you for you, right? And for you should be the best version. That's my opinion. That's my advice to men. Don't be a fucking loser trying to find a woman, right? I don't, because then you're the disparity there, right? You'll find a woman that loves you while you barely love yourself.
On the other hand, have kind of an easier solution, and one that would potentially correct this problem on the population level as well. Namely, they marry older women earlier.
Why is it assumed that men would be the breadwinners in this situation? Even if you think it's better for like one person in the family to be the breadwinner, why does it have to be the man automatically? Why does he not advise women to make lots of money?
Statistically, women wouldn't marry beneath them. It's been proven that, let's say this, women don't marry men that don't have college degrees. So if women don't desire to marry men, if women have college degrees and don't desire to marry men that don't have college degrees, why would you think that women that make more would want men that make less? You are an academic, yet do you even use the brain you have? Do you even use the logic? Come on. It's been proven. It's like there are studies, there are statistics, there are surveys, right? That gives you a bit of this information. Now, it's not totality, right? Yeah, there are plenty. There are some women that will work a lot and find a man that, you know, makes less than them. But again, that's not in general. That's not the majority of women. Majority of women will not work hard and provide for a man. This is where you're disingenuous with your injection of whatever you're trying to do. You're feminist. It's like, here's a woman that wants to disagree for disagreeing's sake. And this is the problem, right? This is the problem with feminism. Okay. Even the most accredited, right, women, right, the women with so many degrees, so supposedly so smart, they will still disagree with you because they disagree with you, right? Not because you're logical or illogical. It's just because they disagree with you, because it doesn't feel right. This is why even the smartest woman is extremely stupid, in my opinion. I'm sorry. I'll be honest. Even the smartest woman is still stupid. Because why? Because her emotions will cloud her judgment. Her emotions will cloud her logic. Red Door, what is up? What is up? Women also need to be the best version of themselves instead of living in a self-centered fantasy. Yes, but I mean, the best version for a woman is different for the best version of a man. So, but I do agree that we all need to be the best version of ourselves.
Are you afraid of the competition, Dr. Taraban? Also, advising women to marry older men at a young age seems like remarkably bad advice from a psychologist who should know that the younger people get married, the less it tends to last because their frontal lobes are not developed and there's a chance that they're going to, shift in different directions as time goes on. There's also a pretty large power dynamic between younger women and older men, so he should know that that typically puts women at greater risk of coercion or abuses of power. But I have a feeling that he doesn't actually care about what's in women's best interests. His next video is titled Death of the Lady. He says historically there have only been two types of women, ladies and prostitutes.
Death of the lady. In today's day and age, you often hear women complaining. Where are all the real men? Is chivalry dead? Where are the gentlemen? The men who are willing to provide, to commit, to make the effort? Why can't I find a man who will treat me like the lady I am? What is wrong with men these days? Today, I'm going to be answering these questions and more for both men and women. For the better part of known history, there have been only two types of women in the sexual marketplace. There have been ladies and there have been prostitutes. I could use another word here, but I don't want to alienate people in what is already a sensitive discussion.
Yes, you do. Otherwise, you wouldn't have said that. Well, you can't alienate everyone, right? It's like ridiculous.
Ladies are women who became wives. Prostitutes are women who didn't.
Let's talk about everything wrong with this statement. First of all, he's redefining words. He's right that these words were social constructs, but his definitions of those social constructs are inaccurate. A prostitute is and always has been a person who sells sex for money, but it's also a very loaded term. It has a lot of stigma. Someone might insult a person who they're trying to demean by saying, oh, you're a prostitute for engaging in extramarital sex, but that's not the definition. The definition of a prostitute is someone who has sex for money, not somebody who has sex outside of marriage. That's not what the definition is. A lady, often referred
Did he say that? He didn't say a woman having sex out of marriage.
to an upper-class woman who didn't have to do manual work, and yes, who adhered to certain strict gender roles, which often included sexual purity, but that's not the whole definition. It wasn't like a lady is a woman who doesn't have sex until marriage. It referred to like respectability
He didn't say that either.
politics. A lady was a woman who adhered to respectability politics. By redefining the word lady as virgin until marriage, which is not entirely accurate, it gives him free reign to basically...
Did he say that? I mean, maybe I'm listening to something different. Did he say a lady, a virgin till marriage? I don't think he said that. Right? But there's a difference, right? Prostitute is promiscuous. Promiscuity. A lady is not. Right? A lady is more dignified, usually resulting in marriage. A prostitute doesn't value her body. Right? Yeah, and the pure sense of the word, a prostitute doesn't value her body. She would give her body to multiple men. Now, you could say for cash or not, but still, that is the idea. He's not saying that. She's literally putting words in his mouth.
call any woman who isn't a virgin before marriage a whore. The second thing wrong with the statement is that it's extremely
He didn't say that.
black and white, and it's a false dichotomy. Dr. Taraban is kind of telling on himself with this one, but he doesn't seem really aware of it. This specific kind of false dichotomy has a name within the field of psychology. It's called a Madonna whore complex. It's a man who categorizes women as either a Madonna, who is pure and self-sacrificial and virginal, or a whore, a woman who is completely devalued and debased, who's considered dirty and cheap to men. This is not a healthy or realistic way to categorize people. People who struggle with a Madonna whore complex typically have some really deep-rooted issues with women. In reality, a lady and a prostitute are not the only two roles for women. These are just labels that men put on women in order to keep them in check, but really women can hold a variety of labels: midwife, teacher, mother, daughter, grandmother, writer, healer.
Those are not the it's like, I swear to God, she is, I don't know if she's using brain cells or not. He literally put the context, right? In the sexual marketplace. I don't know what teacher you're talking about in the sexual marketplace. I don't know what healer you talking about in the sexual marketplace. This is why I said this. Yes, ladies don't behave in degeneracy. I agree. But this is a thing where this is why she's so disingenuous, right? She's misinterpreting his words and putting other words in his mouth. It's just ridiculous.
priestess, warrior. It is not historically accurate.
What warrior in the sexual marketplace? What the hell are you talking about? The man is talking through dating, and the man is talking about dating, and you talking about warrior teacher. It's like, what? You're talking about two different things. Literally, you're talking about two different things. He's talking about dating. You're just talking about. This is the problem. This is the problem where I'm sorry. A lot of women are just stupid. They are, right? They're stupid because they can't comprehend the simplest of concepts, right? You as a human being, and you as a human woman, right? You as a human woman, and you as a woman in the dating market are two different things, right? They're two different categories, right? You can be the warrior, the teacher, the whatever else you want as a human woman. What the hell are you as a warrior in the sexual marketplace? What the fuck are you doing? Right? There are two different things. Women like this are just honestly just extremely disingenuous. Because if you can't understand that, you might as well not talk about this thing, right? You might as well not talk about this topic. Don't talk about dating when you're talking about things outside of dating. She's not sticking to the framework of dating. He has. Plenty of times when she talks, she's not talking about dating. She's talking about women in the real world, right? She's talking about women outside of the sphere of dating. He's strictly talking about dating. Strictly. Not women as human beings, not the value of women as humans. No, right? He's talking about dating. She's mixing it up by bringing women, how you value or think about women in the real world to women in the dating market.
To act like women have only held two roles throughout society. They have held a wide breadth of roles. You just aren't able to see them for some reason. The third issue that I have with this argument is, what's the opposite of a gentleman then? Remember that selectivity manipulation that I was talking about? How he's only giving us half of the equation, and by not talking about the other,
I guess a player? I mean, it'd probably be a player.
other half of the equation, it perpetuates his narrative. Women are either ladies or whores, but that
the problem is, right? He said it in context. Women are saying, what happened to the gentleman? Women are saying, what happened to the gentleman? That's like, where's chivalry, right? He's saying in context. This woman is so dense. I swear to God, she's like brick level dense, right? She's straw manning she's like, not straw, she's like misinterpreting his argument and misrepresenting it, right? She's taking it out of context to reinterpret it to how she wants it. He's literally saying, people are talking about what happened to the gentleman. Why would you talk about what's the opposite of a gentleman? Women don't give a shit about that. Women aren't talking about, what about the players? Women aren't talking about that. Women are talking about, what about the gentlemen? You are so, I swear to God, it's like, how can this woman hold a degree, right, when she is this level of intelligence, right? She's,
leaves out men are either gentlemen or,
and I gotta say this, I'll be honest, she's more accredited than me, right? So technically she should be 1,000 times smarter than me, but she can't even comprehend this level of logic. She can't even critically think. She has to misinterpret a lot of things or add on extra shit.
or what? Why does he not mention that? Because as far as Dr. Taraban is concerned, men aren't the ones on trial here. It's women's base immorality that we're here to discuss. No.
Or it's women asking, right? It's women asking a question. He's giving you an answer that may fit that question.
Different from the days of the witch trials when men were writing manifestos about how women were intrinsically demonic by nature of being female. Dr. Taraban says, ladies are women who became wives, prostitutes are women who didn't. So by that logic, nuns are super slutty then. Empowered women are prostitutes. Can you see where this might be going? Dr. Taraban fundamentally thinks that all women are defined by them selling sex to a man. Ladies just do it after marriage.
If there weren't an underclass of women willing to satisfy men's sexual needs cheaply and easily, well, I doubt that men would long put up with the ladies' nonsense.
What? That doesn't even make any sense. Men put up with their wives because they can get cheap sex elsewhere. If they don't like putting up with their wives, why don't they just not get married and go have that cheap sex their whole lives then? And how would they get their sexual needs met if there weren't that underclass of prostitutes? He again really reveals what he thinks about women with this statement. Their needs and their presence in a man's life is nonsense. Needing to treat a woman like a lady is a burden, almost like he's tired of feigning respect for them because he fundamentally doesn't respect women. Dr. Taraban is again playing with historical facts. We have no reliable evidence that most married men visited prostitutes. It's not like there were reliable questionnaires back in the day asking people, sampling to see how many men were actually going to these women. What we do know is that it was far less common in rural areas than it was in urban areas. It was highest among soldiers, unmarried men, and sailors. And it also depended highly on the specific culture, which had different norms around prostitution. We also know that the Victorian era, technically it's true because these are social constructs, these are labels that men put on women in order to keep them down. I suspect Dr. Taraban likes saying,
it's funny with her jabs, right? Technically, it's true. It's men who put these labels onto women. So it's true, but men are oppressive, right? Men are oppressors. Men are terrible. Okay, so even if you bring up studies, which in the beginning she says he brings up no studies, or he makes no his opinions are based on no studies, but when his opinions are based on some form of studies, she's saying it's just because it's oppressive men, right? It's like, God, I swear to God, listen to women. It's like, this is why it's hard to, this is why I try not to debate with women, right? Because sometimes it becomes shit like this, right? Where there's no logic anymore. It's just feelings, right? It's how you feel, right? You feel men are oppressive, so that's the narrative you're gonna go on. You're not gonna really attack things logic with logic. You're gonna attack things with emotion to logic. And when you do that, you look stupid, in my opinion, right? In my opinion, this woman who is accredited, right, is purely attacking this man based on logic, how she feels, right? Bringing up, oh, men are oppressive, men are misogynist, or whatever. It's like, okay, so you're using ad hominems instead of debating with logic, logic by logic. You're attacking the man. You're attacking the men, right? But not the logic itself. Because she said, oh, technically it's true, but they're oppressive, they're misogynistic, they're sexist. Okay, guys, great.
That ladies and prostitutes are not so different, just so that he can say that all women are whores.
I could use another word here, but I don't want to alienate people in what is already a sensitive discussion.
He uses loaded language to fuel.
I'm not going to interpret that he says all women are whores. But what you can say is that it is true that more women than ever are less restrictive on their bodies, right? Sexual revolution is a very valid thing, right? It's a true thing, right? Women today have a higher body count than women of yesteryears. That is a fact, right? That is a fact, right? So I wouldn't go to extremes that all women are whores, right? But on the simplest term or less controversial term, that yes, more women than ever are less ladylike and more whore-like, right? Doesn't mean that they're whores, right? I mean, if you have a body count of 5, I wouldn't call that a whore. But it is true where there was a time where a woman has a body count of 1. Today, a woman may have a body count of 10.
His audience's hatred of women to frame all.
I swear to God. I swear to God. It is only women that think that they can be critical of men, but it's not the hatred of men. Yet when men are critical of women, obviously it's the hatred of women. It is only women to think that, you know what, if women can diagnose or, I don't know, critique men, it is, I don't know, logical or base or whatever. But yet when men critique women, it's misogynistic. I swear to God. See, this is what I'm saying. You're bringing in your feelings, right? Not logic. Prove to me that these men hate women. Prove to me it, right? You have no proof. Prove to me that when you say men hate women, misogynistic or whatever, that they actually hate women. Please be logical, not emotional. When you say men hate women, you have to prove it, right? Because that's fucking, I'm not going to say that women hate men like that. I'm not going to say that unless they do say it, right? Prove to me. I can prove to you that out of women's mouth, they say they hate men. One of the biggest thing, right? I did a live stream, right? Earlier today. A woman saying, I don't need a man. I'm not saying that's necessarily hate, but that can be interpreted as, you know, at least you don't need men, right? So you can maybe make some correlation to, like, wouldn't be that much of as a farce, farce shoot of saying that you hate men, right? But I could also find content of women saying out of their mouth, I hate men. Prove to me the same thing, right? Prove to me the same thing. I don't see men coming out and say, I hate women, right? And if they do, okay, those men, the men that you're showing me, are misogynistic. Prove to me that this man's content, right, are for women haters. You can't.
All women as basically morally impure and worthless, because essentially what he's saying is women are either respectable or unrespectable, and even the respectable ones are actually not so respectable, so all women are unrespectable.
Where are you taking that? Where are you bringing that logic?
And the last video that we're going to watch of his today is called Modern Women, which is part 2 to his precursor where he was talking about how all women are whores. Here, he takes his argument to its inevitable conclusion. He claims that a Victorian lady would be deeply offended by a modern woman's idea of romance.
Consider, for instance, how a lady of the 19th century might respond to a proposal based on a successful modern courtship. Let's see. What's a good outcome by today's standards? How about this? The man plans a date and puts some effort into the experience. He picks her up, takes her out to dinner. Over the meal, he puts her at ease. He makes her laugh, asks her questions, tries to understand their shared values. He wants a relationship and seems to care about the woman's feelings. He's clearly attracted to her, but he doesn't want to move too fast. So they go on 1 date, 2 dates, 3 dates. Finally, at the end of the 3rd date, he invites her in for a cup of tea, and the two give in to their desires and sleep together. So what's the point? My point is, exactly. Share this summary with most modern women, and this sounds unproblematic, possibly even desirable. They probably wouldn't feel anything's wrong here. However, if you were to share this summary with a 19th century lady, you'd end up getting slapped. You think the price of my womanhood is 3 dates? Who do you think you're talking to? How dare you insult my virtue like this? Go find yourself a good time girl in the red light district if that's what you're looking for. But I don't think you'd find many modern women who saw anything all that problematic in this summarized process. And any modern woman who did act that way is probably a raging hypocrite, because chances are she's not a virgin, which means that she has already been willing to transact her sexual opportunity without a lifetime of commitment and provision. And that means, despite any protestations to the contrary, at least according to the traditional definition, that she is no longer a lady.
It's almost like the word lady is a social construct, and norms of behavior change over time, therefore what a lady actually means also changes over time. His argument is kind of like...
I think his argument, right, goes back to the original statement. Being a gentleman is gone. Where are the gentlemen? Those have changed, right? What it's like, again, he's probably, again, I'm just going on what she showed, right? So I'm just going on what she showed. What he's showing is literally the first part of the concept, right? Where are the gentlemen's at? They have changed along with the women, right? Along with what a lady is. This is why this woman cannot critically think, right? He's putting all this opinion or whatever thought process around the concept of where are all the gentlemen's? There are no gentlemen's because there are no ladies, period. Why would you talk about gentlemen chivalry when you don't talk about ladies? Since ladies are gone, the gentleman persona is gone, period. This woman can't critically think, so she can't put 2 and 2 together, right? Whether you disagree with him or not, you should look through the lens of the full context. He started out, which she showed, right? She showed, he said, women are saying, where are all the gentlemen? Whether you disagree with his little points, right, within his what he said, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter because his overarching concept is, where are all the gentlemen at? So if there are no ladies today that fits the concept of a lady, why would you think that there should be gentlemen today that fit the concept of a gentleman? That is the overarching narrative. This is why this woman can't critically think. This is why she has so many degrees. She's supposedly so smart, yet can't even I don't know, fire one brain cell.
Like saying, if you were to take someone from 100 years ago and show them a modern day person with mental illness, they would say lobotomize that person, institutionalize them immediately. This means they had the right idea and we should lobotomize that person. In reality, we don't lobotomize people anymore because we've evolved. We've
It's not a one-to-one comparison.
learned a lot. We've gained a different set of values. Actually, the right conclusion, but that doesn't mean that they're
Actually put sex on the other side of marriage, but to suggest that they have a relatively low body count.
No, we don't. Most people don't use the term lady anymore because, again, it's outdated. We don't really think about things in that way anymore. But on the rare cases when I do hear someone using the word,
You know, it's funny. She says most people don't use a lady anymore. I've yet to see her, this whole segment, this whole part of the video, talk about gentlemen, which is the initial topic, right? The initial topic of this half of the video. I swear to God, this is why she's dishonest.
word lady, the definition has sort of shifted to mean a high-class woman or a woman who respects herself enough to not tolerate mistreatment. So I sometimes hear women saying, like, I'm a lady who, like, wear designer clothes, for example. Or I sometimes hear people saying I'm a lady when they're referring to, like, not responding to a "are you up" text at 3 a.m. Dr. Taraban really needs to stop redefining words. And then he finally says it, folks, any woman who isn't a virgin at marriage is a prostitute.
Modern women exchange their sexual opportunity outside of marriage, and they often proudly discuss their low body counts. They do this because they believe that their low number means that they're not prostitutes, like some sluts out there. But that's kind of like a murderer denying he's a serial killer because he's only killed like 5 or 6 times. You want a serial killer? Go talk to Stalin or Mao. I'm practically a law-abiding citizen in comparison.
Remember, that is not the definition of a prostitute, never was. The entire argument that he's making hinges on him manipulating.
Okay, fine. He says slut. Then, okay. I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with him, right? With the part where women having sex before marriage automatically makes them a slut, right? No. Now, a woman with like 20, 50, 60, 100 bodies, yeah, she's a slut, right? No doubt about that, in my opinion. But again, a woman has a low body count. I wouldn't call her a prostitute nor a slut. So, but again, fine. If you don't like the word prostitute, he said slut.
A definition. He gives this metaphor about like serial killers. This is a false.
And this is the thing where this is why, again, another example why I find these people disingenuous, right? So she wants to confine his language to the definition, just to, I don't know, discredit what he's saying. It's a tactic. I get it, right? I understand that if it's not pure to the definition, it don't make sense. I can understand that argument, right? I'm not saying I don't. But the problem is you're not attacking the argument per se, right? You're not. You are attacking a piece of it. Hopefully, this is what they do, right? You attack the piece of the argument and try to crumble that piece to hopefully shatter the rest of it, right? In the sense that if you attack this little small little part, hopefully you will discredit the whole piece. The problem is a lot of times you don't do that, right? Because you attack this little part, because a lot of times you may attack an unimportant part, right? I'm sorry, I'm not that smart, right? You want to attack a unimportant part, thinking that you're doing a big thing, but you're not, because the overarching argument is still there, it's still intact.
equivalence based on a faulty definition. A woman having sex before marriage is not the same as a serial killer. Again, he's really revealing more about his worldview with that analogy. He's also doing this thing where he moralizes women's specific behavior in order to degrade their character. If you do X, then you're insert this very global character label that's a very ugly, stigmatized word. It's kind of like how when people say, like, if you, what's something like very small and specific, like lean your chair back on a plane, then you are.
I mean, I don't think it's. I kind of agree with that. Like, he shouldn't like attack someone's character just because they may had sex before marriage. It's not that big of a deal, in my opinion. Now, again, there are difference to it. There's levels to it. If you had, I don't know, 30 partners before marriage, I'll be questionable with it. Right? I will be. I would question your character. Right? I would. If you had 10, okay, right? If you had 10 partners or 10 sexual partners by the age of 25, 30, eh, no, I wouldn't uh question your character that much. If you had 30, 50, I was like, what the fuck? I like, god dang. How can you have you can't yeah, that many partners? You most likely didn't have stable relationships with those partners. You just had flings, you just had one night stands. Then I would question it, right? It is logical to surmise that 10 partners, 10 sexual experiences, you probably at least maybe 5 of them you probably had actual long-term relationships. 30 and 50, it's not likely that before most, I mean, half of it is relationships, right? That doesn't make sense to me, in my opinion, right? So that was interesting. It's kind of you know disappointing because she's not that smart, in my opinion. Right? I didn't think what she said was all that. What she said was more emotional than logical, in my opinion, which is always a I don't know, not a good thing, right? I don't really think it's a good thing when the shit you say is more logical than I don't know. I mean, it's more emotional than logical. When the things you say is more emotional than logical, it's rarely a good thing, in my opinion. Um, I want to check something out. Let's check out another video. What's up, guys? Thank you for being here. Uh, let's check something out.
Anyway,
Let's check out this video. I saw this and I wanted to check it out.
I'm crying, fighting back the tears. Not for a sympathy vote, just, yeah, anybody else feeling like...
Welcome back, family. Today, we're going to see yet another mother woman who divorced her husband thinking that she could do better. But it didn't take...
Life has hit me hard this month. Anybody else feel like that? For those of you who don't know me, my name's Kelly. Living in England, single mom, 2 amazing daughters. My oldest daughter's just turned 14. Gosh, it makes me feel old. And my youngest baby will be 12 in September, starting big school. As if that's not enough already, trying to get the uniform and everything. Yeah, battling with emotions, you know, she'll be leaving and then moving on. My oldest daughter will then go into year 10. Anyway, I'm crying, fighting back the tears. Not for a sympathy vote, just, yeah, anybody else feeling like life has hit me so hard? I'm menopausal, divorced, single mom, sick of living in the UK. Our economy is messed up. It's got to be one of the most messed.
I heard that, right? I do know that the UK economy is there's you know, they're suffering from it. But in my honest opinion, they brought it on themselves, right? I'm sorry. Um Introducing a huge influx of immigrants or illegal immigrants, it's not going to help your economy, right? It's going to put a whole lot of weight onto your economy. So
up in the world. It's like, it's just, you know, I get a little bit of help from our government because I'm being a single mom, but I want to work. And I was working full time and then lost my job at the beginning of June because the company got rid of like 7 people. I was just like, what was the point taking us on? We only joined in March. And even though I'm knackered, and I'm glad I'm not working full time because I have no life, working full time, and I'm sick of feeling knackered by like 8 o'clock, travelling, doing all the activities and things. But now it's like the complete opposite. It's like impossible to get a part-time job. I don't understand. Is it my age? Is it, you know, what's wrong with someone giving me a chance? I mean, you know, I've worked since I was like 16 years old. I know how to do most things.
give you a chance. You said you don't want to work so hard. I mean, like, this is the sad part, right? You're menopausal. So you are older, right? I mean, no one is desiring older people in the workforce. 2, you literally said you don't want to work so hard. So that's not a desirable employee, right? That no one's desiring that type of employee. And second, this is the problem, right? At a certain age, you should be working less. You should be outside of the dating. You should be outside of the working market, right? You should be, you know, heading towards retirement, right? Especially if you're menopausal. You're at the age where you're close to retiring. This is the problem with. This is why there's a reason why people got married, right? They got married early so they can work hard when they're young, hopefully age out of the working environment.
Always worked in sales and telesales, customer service. I used to travel like the whole of the West Midlands. I live in Birmingham just to, you know, see customers and things. And all I want now is to go to work, be part of a little team, feel important, clock in, clock out, and not have to stress on the days I've got my children, getting them to their activities because I'm so knackered, and demands on me in that respect. It just seems impossible. But yeah, life is really difficult. I don't even know if I'm gonna make it, if I'm honest. I don't. And you know what? Do you know what's really hard? The hardest thing about being single, and like, I've been up and down with a man, and I'm just, it's toxic, and I'm drained. I need mental peace to just move on. I don't want to be in debt. So how is everybody seriously making money online without having hundreds and thousands to invest in the first place, because I don't have that. I just know.
The problem is when you hit a certain age, and then you, I don't know, complain about life, is that you let time pass you by, right? This is why I hate the whole mindset of like a lot of people has this mindset, right? Oh, let me have fun in my youth, right? When I'm like my 20s, and then work hard when I'm older. Are you stupid? Are you stupid? You don't have the energy as you get older. You should be working hard when you're young, and then start living life when you're older. That's usually how it works because you have the energy for it, right? You have the drive for it.
But I feel like I have a lot to give, and I just want someone to give me a chance, you know. I don't understand. Anyway, that's my cry over. I've ranted for 4 minutes. Pull yourself together, Kelly Cook. And then I'm getting out for a walk. Let's go and mount in the sun for half an hour or an hour, because we can't cope with it. But, you know, I need to get my steps in. And then back to the job hunting. Anyway, yeah, if anybody feels like they're struggling, wants to be friends, reach out. Then yeah, let's connect. And I have started like something really cheap and cheerful, that's helping UK customers with their bills. So if you do want to have a little look at your bills, if you've not seen them recently, reach out. I can try and help you save some money on that.
Aren't you complaining about money? It's like, aren't you complaining about jobs? And now you're saying you're going to help other people with money? I don't even understand that. That don't even make sense to me.
Yeah, just drop me a message, comment info, and I can reach out. But I hope you all have a great day.
Do you see where she is now? She's regretful, disillusioned. Although she knew her life wouldn't be easy, she was far from imagining just how difficult it would be.
Morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Just wanted to jump on and do a quick video. This is my life, right? I've been up since 7 o'clock. You might think, oh, that's not that.
This is why. Now, I'm not saying that women have to have a man, right? I'm not saying that. You could do whatever you want, right? We are all adults. Live the life you want. No one is forcing you to have a man. But this is why, in my opinion, you should have a man. A man that you want, a man that you love, a man that loves you. I'm not just saying just pick any older man. I'm not just saying picking any man, right? But a man that you love, a man that loves you. Because going through these things alone is the problem, right? It's the problem. When you have hardship, your partner should be your safety net. Your partner should be your anchor. Your partner should be the one who pull you out of your darkness. When your partner is suffering, you're the one to do that, right? That's the power of having a partner, right? Where you're not going through the hardship of life alone. Life is already not easy. Life is so hard. And to go through it alone, you're just making it harder. Right? You would want to make life as easy as you can. But these types of women who, one, they go back in the dating market sometimes. Two, they also, I don't know, have to go through the trials and tribulation of being an adult by themselves. Never easy.
Early, I'm freaking exhausted. I've just arrived at my shitty 9 to 5 job. I do like the
Your shitty 9 to 5 job. You wonder why people wouldn't want to hire you.
people, apart from one person, and the office. And I like the kind of purpose a little bit. But that's about it, really. I work in telesales. I've took a massive kind of downward step from my previous jobs to have a bit more peace with the job, but actually it causes me more stress than I ever imagined. So when I took this job back in March, I thought, oh yeah, great, I'll manage full time. Actually, I can't. I'm fucking knackered. Like, literally, I'm knackered, right? So does anybody else feel like this? Because since my divorce, I have been trying to rebuild my life. And yeah, this song is appropriate. This is how I feel. Just got already heating stuff. Anybody else feel like that? Anyway, so look, I feel like I need to kind of socialize with people more, jump on more, loads of people. It feels like every person on this planet, whether you're a man, woman, kids, everybody's making money online apart from me, right? So I've been procrastinating, I've been wallowing, I've been up and down in a relationship. I am freaking exhausted and my life is a bit of a roller coaster. But I'm not giving up, right? Because I teach my daughters that it is not how hard you fall, it is how you rise that counts. So I've joined an online business, Algae. It's amazing. All you need to do is like and share a link. It costs, that's just a little bit less in UK money. So it's cheap as chips, all right? You can't even get a coffee and piece of cake for that subscription every month. It's easy. Like and share a link. It's not hard. I've just joined. It's not rocket science. It does take effort, because the more people we share it with, the better, and the more money you make. I haven't become a millionaire overnight, even though I kind of was convinced that any online business was going to do that, until reality, boom, hit you in the face. You have to. So like and share a link. That's all you need to do. If you are curious about it, then please do comment. Can you also follow me on my bio? I'm gonna, if you have been through divorce and you know how I feel, then please do also hit me up. I've got loads to talk about. I want to reach out to everybody on the internet because everybody else is doing that. You don't have to like and follow me. You don't have to. I want to get in touch. I want to connect. I want to build everything together. Yeah, let's do this. Here we go.
Because she can no longer find the stability she once had with her husband. She experiences nothing but ups and downs, fleeting affairs, and no commitment. But she has forgotten that she had a man by her side who offered her the stability she now so desperately craves. Now, there are only complaints and regrets. Even things that might seem basic in the daily life of an adult have become a...
See, and this is the thing where these hustles that women do, it makes more sense in a relationship. Because in a relationship, you have a safety net, right? But when you have no safety net and you're doing these hustles, it's ridiculous. You don't have the time. You should be focusing on work. This is why you're struggling, right? This is why you're struggling. You're jumping from job to job, nothing secure, and you're spending your time trying to do these little side hustles.
source of anger.
Just needed to have a gripe. Anybody else? Literally just freaking exhausted. I'm so exhausted, pissed off, right? Pissed off. Work.
I just find it funny, right? So you hear so many women saying that, having a husband, a father in the household, he does nothing. He does nothing. I'm so exhausted. I do everything. When you're single, what's the difference? Seems like you're still exhausted. I would believe. I mean, like, unless you married and you had kids with the most inept person ever before, which is more indicative of you. If it's more of an indictment on you. But I would believe that a man would give you some help of many forms, right? Financially, domestically, with children, right? You would get some help, right? Technically, you should be getting 50 help, right? 50% of help, right? 50-50. But even at 25%, in a situation change that you have zero help, I find women That's why I find women like illogical in a sense where so you are fine with having zero help and complaining about it, but when you had at least 25% of help, that was not okay. Okay. Makes sense.
Working full time. I'm a single mom, working 9 till 5. Two amazing daughters, like literally they're amazing. But I literally am just shattered. I do everything. Does anybody else feel like this? I so desperately want to work part-time and then do online income stuff, because everybody on this planet seems to be making extra money online, just not me. But that said, I have joined an online business, Algae. It's really cool. I'm very new into it, so I haven't made millions yet. That's the goal though, to make loads of money, build that passive residue income for me and my two daughters. But yeah, if you're interested in hearing, and cheap as chips, it's cheap as chips to join, $95 a month.
So what she's doing is like, instead of depending on a husband that hopefully you love and loves you, you're now single, struggling and hustling, I don't know, online products. That's the life.
That's it, build. It's all brilliant, to be honest. So yeah, if you're pissed off like me, working 9 till 5, sick of sheer exhaustion, just mental exhaustion in general, and want to start building online businesses, then you know what? Some information about it.
Always complaining and playing the victim as if she didn't even create this situation.
It takes two to make, it takes two to break. Really think about that message. I understand that's going to upset quite a lot of people, and it's quite a hard pill to swallow, and I understand that.
It does take two to make. Does it take two to break? I don't think so, right? One person can break a relationship all by themselves. So that's not true.
That can sound quite controversial, but let me tell you, in any relationship, in any friendships, when you think about actually everybody's actions, it does take two to make it, and it also takes two to break it. Like, seriously, I was having a conversation yesterday with the men at work who have been through a divorce, like me, and they are so puzzled and cannot get their head around why I say that. Because they naturally blame their ex all the time for everything. Seriously.
Well, technically, right? Statistically, women are the ones to divorce. Since you are the one to divorce, you're the one who's breaking it. Now, I'm not saying in all situations, right? I'm not saying all situations, but I believe in general, you chose the person for a reason. I think a lot of times women choose the person for a reason and change up why they chose the person. In the sense that, okay, let's say this, right? This man was, oh, I love him. He was perfect. He's everything I wanted, right? Uh, like you were with him for 3 years before engagement, right? 3 years before engagement. Everything about him you love, supposedly, right? You love him about everything. Then the engagement, then the wedding, and then, I don't know, 5 years later, I want to divorce him. Why? Did you not love him before? What changed? What changed? And in my opinion, right, just my assumption, the only thing changed was you, right? The one who breaks up the relationship. I mean, I'm not saying all situations, but the one thing I can surmise in a lot of cases is that the one thing that truly changed is you, right? In the sense that, let's say hypothetically, you change in how you view this person, right? Or you change in the expectations you had, right? So I believe a lot of women pick a man that, you know what? I love him. There's so many things I love him. There are certain things I don't love about him, but I'll still marry him, hoping that he will change. So years later, he didn't change. He was exactly who you chose. The problem is you change in the sense that you stop accepting or you stop waiting for his change, right? Like, I can't wait anymore, right? So I change how I viewed it. That's how I think that's a lot of times.
Think about it. Really think about it. And when you do learn to take a step back, when you're not feeling angry and when you're not feeling sad and when you're ready to rebuild and actually have the confidence to put yourself in a conscious mind, then you could look at why it takes me two to make and why it takes two to break. Do not.
Again, it doesn't necessarily have to take two to break it, but it could. Now, I do say that in any relationship you have, it is a good thing to take a step back and self reflect, right? It is better to, you know what? If you can find your flaws, it's a good thing, right? It's a good thing to find your flaws and know what you can improve on, right? Because at the end of the day, that's the only thing you got. You're not going to change the other person. So how can you improve for the next relationship? Well, find what you could change, what you could fix. Self-improvement is always a good thing.
Blame just the one either party. Although naturally you will do that in the first instance.
Now, I do say that I said this in my past relationship. I don't blame her. I mean, I could blame her, right? I should. Like, I think she is to blame, but it doesn't help anything, right? It's not going to change the result of the relationship. It's not going to help me improve. It's not going to, you know, it's not going to do anything, right? She is what she is. She did what she did. So at the end of the day, all I could do is, you know what? It happened. I might as well find some silver lining and, you know what? Self-improve the way I can. Right? So I do agree. It doesn't help you to blame the other party. It doesn't. Because what would it change?
It really is not down to. So I'm going to say it again. I would love to hear your thoughts, Ophelia and Kelly, living in the UK.
What do you guys think? I watch his videos from time to time. It's not bad. Mm, I want to see if there's any other videos. I just want to check out some videos, see if there's any good ones. Um, 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 um. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for being here. Uh, let's check this one out. Let's end out on this video.
New York City, and we're also going to hear from a matchmaker that also spent several years in New York City trying to match up women. You're going to learn very, very quickly what the problem is with women, maybe specifically in that city, but in general, and why they're getting horrible results in their life. Let me grab this first video and play it for you, and then we'll get to the matchmaker.
I believe I've cracked the case into why it's so hard dating in New York City, and it's actually very simple. It boils down to one simple thing that actually runs the whole entire world, and it's money, okay? Living in New York is expensive as it.
You know what? This is why I think it's funny, right? You remember the psychiatrist or psychologist we had in the beginning, right? I mean, if you did, please check it out. But this is why I create a reaction channel. I have video proof, right? Like literally she's saying, don't make it transactional, money's not important, all this shit. But out of women's mouth, it will always, right, counteract what women say, right? What other women try to be PC about, right? It's not about money, men, it's more deeper and all this shit. It's not transactional, bitch. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't.
As one human being paying for herself to live in New York City, it's so expensive. Rent is like $3,500 for a 600 square foot apartment. Then you got groceries, phone bills, utilities, streaming services, coffees, pizza for lunch, night on the town with your girlfriends. It's so expensive to live in New York City now.
Most of that you could cut out. Right? If not half of it. If not, 75% of that you could cut out. So, and you wonder why, or Orion Taraban said, date older. I mean,
imagine being a man who has to pay for the dates. If you're the type of girl who does splitsies, good for you. I'm just saying, as a man who's paying $400+ a week to take a girl on a nice date, at the end of the month, my man's is checking his bank statement going, I can't do this anymore.
I've never done that. I'm sorry. No first date is worth $400. I mean, like, maybe if she's like, I don't know. I really don't know. Would I even date a woman that would be perceived as worth it? I don't think so. Because at the end of the day, I wouldn't even, like, let's say a woman that's a 10, which is, I'm a 9. Would I actually take her out on a $400 date? I probably wouldn't, because I would not think that this woman would even want me.
I cannot keep paying for this lifestyle, for this. I can't do this anymore. My man's is down bad. Okay, so it's not that you're ugly. It's not that you're unattractive. It's not that you're not smart enough. It's not that you're anything. You're amazing. You're worthy. You are outstanding, impeccable, successful, creative, all these amazing things. It's simply that he cannot afford you. And that's okay. You might have to look in another age range, like a higher age range, if you want.
It's like, see, this is the thing, right? One woman counteracts another woman. Like I said, literally, the psychiatrist, right? Psychologist literally said it is misogynistic or terrible to think that younger women should date older. Literally, out of a woman's mouth, right? Out of a woman's mouth, you should date older. How is it misogynistic or sexist or whatever when women are saying it?
Someone who's going to take you out on these great dates, or maybe you want to just keep doing you and make money for yourself and take yourself on those dates. I don't know, but it's very simple. He can't afford you, babe, and that's okay. It's not about you. It's just that living in New York is very hard, and he decided after 4 dates that he didn't want to pay for it anymore. He ghosted you. He can't afford you. He doesn't want to see you this week. He can't afford you. Okay? He's being.
And she also, right? She also criticized him for using the word prostitute. Yo, Wonder, what is up, my brother? What is up? What's up? She criticized him for using the word prostitute. You see this? This is why I love building a database, right? Essentially a database of what women say, right? I have a database, literally, my channel is a database of what women say. Because thanks to that database, I can accurately, debunk what other women say. Oh, how dare you call women a prostitute? You can't afford her. Huh, really? You can't afford her? Isn't that like a prostitute?
All weird and not texting you like he used to. He can't afford you.
Prostitute.
That simple, okay? Peace and love.
All right, well, long story short with that one, men are broke. You need to spend $400 a month. She fluffs herself up, and any girls watching it telling them that they're amazing, strong, and all that sort of stuff. I got more on it, but let's have a listen to this matchmaker that was a professional matchmaker in New York City for 5 years, and then we'll get to the commentary.
I was a professional matchmaker for more than 5 years in New York City, and I met with thousands of singles. And I'll tell you, the difference between the people that ended up in happy, healthy relationships versus the one that stayed single, were the people that were able to distinguish what is a long-term value and what is a superficial garbage nonsense factor that you don't actually need in order to be happy. For example, where they went to school. It doesn't matter. You can't take their diploma to bed and have it hold you after a long day. How much hair is on their head.
Which is pretty crazy, right? I mean, like, studies have shown that women desire men with higher education, right? With degrees. Probably because I think a lot of them say that, intellectual conversations, you can literally disproving that the psychiatrist, right? Psychologist with her high degree, I can critically think better than her, right? In my opinion, right? So a degree doesn't necessarily make you smarter than anyone, right? A degree doesn't necessarily make you able to have a intellectual conversation. It doesn't necessarily, right?
Truly doesn't make a freaking difference because it's all going to fall out eventually. How tall they are has no meaning or dictation of how much they can protect you and be there for you. Other things like status and money are fleeting and can always go. So what should you be looking for? A shared value system. Do you see the world in the same way? Mutual respect, healthy communication, and a shared vision for your future. Paired with that with connection.
I agree. I mean, this is the thing where even men that are superficial, I don't agree with it, right? Men that want, oh, I need a woman that's an 8. No. I'd rather have a woman that is uh a 5 or 6 that wants me than an 8 that can always wander. An 8 that, you know what, doesn't want me that much.
In chemistry, and you have a recipe for long term.
So this is actually pretty common. A lot of women that use matchmaking services fire their matchmaker. They often complain that matchmakers aren't delivering on the results that they were expecting. They expect to go pay a serious amount of money and then be served on a silver platter. Tall, handsome, competent, resourceful Harvard grads with a full head of hair that are ready to settle down and have a whole bunch of babies and pay for the whole thing and look past her entire promiscuous past of partying and her strong and high demands of $400 dates. That is a serious problem. A lot of men are mostly invisible to women, and a lot of women are entitled and bratty and pretty much delusional, if we can put it that way.
100%. They're delusional, they're emotional, they're egotistical, they're narcissistic. They think that they're always right.
Notice in the video when she was talking initially that she was basically like, she kind of started out with, it's been really difficult for these guys, but at the same time, if they're not paying for these dates or willing to spend $400 plus for these dates, they're brokies, they can't afford you, you're strong, you're beautiful, you deserve better, so don't waste your time. Maybe date a little bit older, hold off for the one sort of thing. And that's really not working out for a lot of women because they find themselves in a situation where they're single, they don't have a guy, they find themselves in a position where they're basically just being used for sexual intimacy by the guys that they want to be with that aren't willing to commit to them. So dating older isn't going to really solve a lot of that for them. Complaining that guys can't afford them as if there should be a price tag on dating them. I've said this before, and
this is a thing where I'm not saying that men don't, have those preconceptions of like buying women, right? Of course, men think that, women have a price tag. The problem is that women reinforce that, right? I would have had hope, right? This is the thing where this is why I criticize women. I would have hope that since freedom, right, for women's freedom has been, granted or whatever, women would be a difference, right? Women would like not give their body so easily. Women would not create transactional relationships. Women would not push men to afford them, right? That's the thing I would hope for. The sad thing is the opposite, right? Women are they don't treat their bodies like a temple. They're very free with their bodies. And women push it like, oh, broke men are not it, right? You need to afford me, right? And even if they do accept broke men, it's usually the rare exception where he has something else special, right? He has other superficial qualities, tall, good looking, charming, right? Other superficial qualities, not deeper qualities, right? So, that's the thing. Are you reviewing that therapist that made the hit piece? Yes, I did. At the beginning. I did it at the beginning. It would be hilarious if Oren respond. I would love if he respond, right? I loved it. I would love to respond, but I did it in the beginning. right? So I checked it out. I thought it was interesting, right? I thought it was interesting. So hopefully you check it out. Hopefully you know, go back to the beginning and check it out, because I dissect it to the best of my ability. I'm no therapist. I'm no accredited person, but you know, I did it to the best of my ability. So it was interesting. I liked it, right? I mean, I liked it that there was enough to react to, but definitely, you know, I question her intelligence. So, but yes, guys, that is it. That is it for tonight. Um, yep. I love you guys, right? Wonders, thank you for being here, my brother. Red Door, Organic, Artie, Laughing Man. Oh, brother, this guy stinks. Oh, the bald head guy. What is it? His Rich Cooper. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying he stinks or not. I mean, I don't really watch it. Again, you know, a lot of these content creators, a lot of these other red pill guys, I try to not watch too many of it. There was a time where I was watching a lot of it, right? I was watching a lot of it. I had to take a step back because I felt like I don't want their views to poison my views, right? Even though a lot of their views I've taken in a lot of times, I try to not be fully consumed by their views. So, you know, that's why I don't watch them like that anymore. But yeah, guys, I love you, right? Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for the love. Thank you for checking out my video.